complaint number 2021-1.
Now we need a motion to seal the minutes.
We'll have to wait on that motion until Commissioner Murphy comes in.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize he wasn't here.
Yeah, the report out is fine.
Okay. And did we touch on item number 7, which was new business?
I didn't. I touched on it briefly and then I skipped by it, so I'll return to that.
Okay.
I see that Gail Corrigan is in the audience. I think we should bring her into the meeting. They may be coming in on her account now.
Jason, will we be voting to seal minutes twice? From executive session, we'll have 2 sets of minutes, this and the next.
No, because there won't be any minutes in the deliberation. Your legal counsel will keep track of any questions and answers that are covered there.
So I can cover that now too.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, I see Mr. Kirby and Ms. Corrigan are back in the meeting now. And so the stenographer, if you're ready to go, Chair, the stenographer could start recording.
Okay, Commissioner Murphy is not here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah. Commissioner Murphy, I reported on the actions that we took in executive session, and now I'm going to ask for a motion to seal the minutes from the executive session held on March 2nd, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Anton,
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo. You're muted.
Aye.
Great, and the chair votes aye. Okay, so we're returning to the adjudication. And we'll proceed with Ms. DeRezzo, where we left off.
Thank you. I can't see the witness. I'm just waiting to ascertain if Attorney Kirby and the respondent are with us.
They are.
Oh. Hello.
Hello?
Oh, here we are. Now I can see you. Great. Okay. So before we recessed, Ms. Corrigan, you had indicated that you met around the time of January 26th of 2018 with attorneys D'Agostino and attorney Abbott relative to your 2016 financial disclosure statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you met with both of them in their capacity as attorneys for the town of East Greenwich. Is that correct?
Yes, we were meeting on other town matters, and I asked them.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I can't understand.
No, we can't hear you.
Audio is very bad.
Sorry.
If she faces the computer when she speaks, it would help.
Yeah.
Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I had never received an ethics filing or financial statement filing So we were having a meeting and I asked them, I had said, I've never received one of these. Could we go through it together?
And you met with Attorney Abbott and Attorney D'Agostino together. And did you read through the entire form in its entirety before you supplied your answers to each question?
Yes, we read through the form very specifically. Every question on the form. We did not have the instructions in front of us as I have testified.
And
I had not received them.
And did you or any of your counsel contact the commission to try to obtain or ascertain why there were no instructions with the financial disclosure form that was mailed to you?
No, because we thought the writing on the form spoke for itself.
Okay. And with respect to question number 12 on that form, which is the issue in the matter today, with respect to the question, if during calendar year 2016, any business listed above in question 11 had one or more business transactions with a state or municipal agency that collectively exceeded $250, list the following: name of business, and then it goes on, name of state or municipal agency, transacting business, date and nature of transaction. And what was your response to that question, Ms. Corrigan?
The response is not applicable.
And how did you reach that conclusion that that question was inapplicable?
Because it says a state or a municipal agency. And believe at that time was that
You're fading again. Could you please again get close to the computer? Thank you. We heard you up in, yeah, municipal agency.
okay, it says state or municipal agency. And the thought at the time was that a fire district is not a municipal agency because it's a quasi-governmental organization. But we did spend time on that question, and we believed at the time that it did not include fire districts.
And when you say we, is that indicating that you had a discussion with Attorney Abbott and Attorney D'Agostino collectively to discuss the issue of whether or not the Central Coventry Fire District needed to be disclosed relative to MRP on that question?
As a municipal agency, that it was the question, it wasn't a municipality, and the idea was it wasn't a municipality.
But you acknowledge that the Central Coventry Fire District is a public body, do you not?
No, it says a state or municipal agency.
Yes, I'm asking you a separate question, Ms. Corrigan. You acknowledge that the Central Coventry Fire District, where you're the district manager, is in fact a public body though, correct?
Oh, I know that now. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Now I know it. At this time, when on January 26th of 2018, I did not know that.
You did, in January of 2018, you didn't know that the Central Coventry Fire District was a public body?
I knew that it was a semi-quasi institution. I did not know that it qualified as a state or municipal agency.
Okay, but I think those are two distinct questions. Whether you knew that it was a municipal agency for purposes of the Code of Ethics and your disclosure under 12 is one question. And the separate question that I asked you was whether you knew in January of 2018 that the Central Coventry Fire District was a public body.
I don't think I ever had any thought about whether it was a public body or not. On January 26th, I was just trying to comply with getting this financial statement in, and to the best of my abilities. And I was just reading question number 2 as state or municipal agency. That's what I was doing.
As far as your district manager duties in Central Coventry Fire District, you do hold public meetings under the Open Meetings Act, is that correct?
They do, yes.
And you as district manager are listed as the contact person for open meetings on the Secretary of State's website. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. We have a district clerk that does the Secretary of State's website, Danny Kaplan. I don't list meetings or any of those kinds of things with the Secretary of State.
You don't file any with the Secretary of State?
No, we have Danny Kaplan is the district clerk, and he's the conduit. He files all meeting notices, agendas, anything that needs to be filed. He's been doing it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
But the Central Coventry Fire District is a public body subject to the Open Meetings Act, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a public body. We've established that. As to whether or not it was a state or municipal agency under the Code of Ethics, did it occur to you that perhaps the instruction sheet that was missing, as you have stated, from the mailer may have shed some light on what was meant by a state or municipal agency in response to question 12?
I did not know of an existence of an instruction sheet until I visited you in your office and you showed me one.
Well,
Before that time, I had never, there was no, if I knew that there was an instruction sheet, obviously I would have, look, I'm a CPA, I do taxes, I'm always looking at instructions. And if there were an instruction sheet, I would have looked at the instruction sheet, and there was not an instruction sheet.
okay.
And I was
Sure.
just left with trying to answer whether this was a state or municipal agency. And we determined at that time that the fire district did not come under this. And as soon as we found out that that was not correct, we amended the filing. It was not intentional. It was not, I had no idea. It wasn't willful or intentional.
So to understand your testimony today, you consulted with these two attorneys, Attorney Abbott and Attorney D'Agostino. You had discussion with them where you discussed whether or not it needed to be disclosed, whether it was a municipal agency. And is it fair to say that you made a determination that it need not be disclosed?
We did look at it, and on looking at it, we thought the proper answer was not applicable. And to talk about Attorney Abbott for a second, I believe at this point, he might have left the room, because I remember I left this with Attorney Abbott, this statement, and he said he would look it over. And right after this point, he fell ill. And as you know, Attorney Abbott is deceased rather recently, unfortunately.
Yes.
So that I believe when he came back, I think the next day it was the beginning of his illness, and I believe, but I left this with him on the 26th of January. I'm not sure if David Abbott was involved in exactly 12. But again, I was just trying to comply.
Okay. Chairperson Quinn, I'd like permission to share Exhibit P8, please.
Okay, is there any objection? Mr. Kirby? No objection, okay. Yes, go ahead.
I am showing you prosecution's 8, which has been stipulated is your 2016 financial disclosure form that was filed with the Ethics Commission. And I would just call your attention to where I've placed the blue arrow. And does this form make reference to instruction sheet?
Yes.
Okay. And You indicated in response to number 12, the answer was non-applicable, which you have testified to. And just scrolling down, you also acknowledged when you signed this that you could seek guidance from the Ethics Commission if you had any questions as to your filing requirement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. When you, Ms. Corrigan, Attorney D'Agostino was legal counsel to the CCFD, so he would have been aware of your company's business with the CCFD. Is that correct?
Yes, he was aware.
And did you disclose to Attorney Abbott this particular nature of your business dealings with the CCFD through your company?
Yes, again, it was public knowledge.
And as to the amounts, it wasn't just $250. During calendar year 2016, isn't it true that your company billed over $200,000 to the CCFD?
Yeah.
I can't hear.
We can't hear you, Mr. Kirby.
I'm going to object as to the relevance of that particular question.
Do you want to respond to that, Mr. Reza?
Yes, certainly, because it goes to the respondent's completion of the question number 12. This isn't something where, oh, she had a contract and she had got a few $100. It was a little bit over $250. It was something that wouldn't have stood out in her mind. This is something where we're talking about multiple six figures in billings, which should be something that someone filling out the form would have jumped to their mind and need to come to the forefront in terms of making sure that they comply and disclose.
Herb, I mean, I'm inclined to allow it. What do you advise?
I believe it's relevant.
Okay. I'm going to overrule your objection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ms. Corrigan, isn't it true that the amount we're talking about here isn't close to $250? Your company, MRP, billed CCFD approximately $200,000 during 2016. Is that right?
That's exactly right, and that's why exactly I took care on this question. And we talked about whether
Could you please talk into the computer? I'm sorry. I can't really hear you.
That's correct, and that's exactly why we took care to answer question number 12 and why we believed that it didn't qualify as a municipal agency.
Okay, thank you. And did you say that you, I'm sorry, did you say earlier that you left the form with Attorney Abbott?
That's correct.
And did you follow up with Attorney Abbott to ascertain the filing status of your form?
Yes, he had been ill, and he came back into the office because he had wanted the form so that he could look over it. And I think the next day he must have fallen ill, and it was some time. And when I had heard he was ill, obviously I didn't pester him about the form right away. But after a week or so, I got in contact with him and said, what are you doing with this form? Are you back at work? What's going on? And what's happened?
Thank you. I have nothing further for this witness.
Mr. Kirby, do you have any questions for Ms. Corrigan?
Yes, well, this is the prosecution's case in chief. And I gather that with the permission of the commission, I'd like to conduct it probably along the lines of how I handled the matter with Ms. Yankee, so that we can expedite this hearing without it
Okay.
dragging on.
And with that, thank you for raising that point. I just want to confirm that the commissioners are able to stay for Well, I guess I'd like to ask both attorneys, how much longer do you think you might have for this case? And then I want to make sure that our commissioners are able to devote that time today, or we can at least plan accordingly.
Chairperson Quinn, I don't have any further questions for Ms. Corrigan. I do have a few questions for the commission's financial disclosure officer, Michelle Berg, who's been listed as a witness. I don't anticipate taking more than 10 minutes with that total examination, and that will conclude my case in chief.
And Mr. Kirby.
I would, based on the testimony, I would anticipate calling Linda Dykeman. May, pursuant to our reservation of rights, I'm speaking with my client.
Can't hear you, sir.
Oh, sorry.
You reservation of rights, and then I lost you.
That to call additional witnesses, I want to confer with my client about the process based on her testimony of asking Mr. D'Agostino to come before the board to testify at some point. I think that we're going to be proceeding for a while this afternoon, and we stand available for the commission at another time if you want to meet. That's fine.
And I would just note that pursuant to joint one, the parties reserved the right to present additional exhibits, but we didn't specify additional witnesses. All of my witnesses were named, and I did not anticipate that there would be additional witnesses being called today. The reservation of right was with respect to unmarked exhibits.
I say one thing.
Yes.
I know I'm not the chair, but I really want to hear Mr. D'Agostino's testimony. It's really relevant to some questions that I have and some analysis that's going through my head. So I think it is that technicality. So testimony.
Commissioner Bennett.
I confer, because there's a large question here as to whether or not we've established that Ms. Corrigan did or did not file in accordance with legal recommendations. That would be important to me, and we've run into that before, where solicitors, counselors, and whatnot may not have given the best advice. And if that were the case, I would want to know that before I ruled on this.
So with that, I guess I would look for advice from Jason and or Herb about maybe conclude. My inclination would be to continue with the questioning of Ms. Corrigan, and then since we know we have to bring back another witness, given what members of the commission are interested in hearing, would we recess for today and look for another time?
I think we should conclude with the questioning of Ms. Corrigan. We may be able to proceed with other witnesses depending on how much time the other commissioners have. And then we would continue the hearing to another date to hear from whatever witnesses don't testify, including possibly Mr. D'Agostino. I think what we need to do, though, is we need to determine whether or not the respondent may call Mr. D'Agostino in as much as there's been an objection raised by Mr. Rezzo.
Can we get a clarification on that? Because in the testimony of the witness up to this point, there's been discussion of two attorneys, and we did this, they did this. She hasn't, as far as I can recall, specifically testified that Mr. D'Agostino is the one who recommended to her that she complete that question in that way. So can we hear from the witness as to whether that's her testimony before we decide on whether we should bring Mr. D'Agostino in?
Yes, that would be
It is. Yes,
No,
it
that would be
is.
appropriate. That would be appropriate.
It sounded like she responded, and I mean, two of my fellow commissioners have asked to hear from that attorney. I think that that's important.
Right. And you certainly have the discretion to allow testimony from him.
Okay, so shall we proceed with the questioning of, and is there a firm deadline? Do any of the commissioners have any firm deadline today. I have 4 o'clock. It's not completely firm, but I have a conflict at 4 that I should attend to.
I mean, if we're definitely gonna, well, not on mute, right? If we're definitely gonna continue, I think, me personally, I think we should conclude with Ms. Corrigan, because I think in case, to the extent any commissioners are fatigued, I want to make sure that we give each witness, the benefit of, if we're going to meet again anyway, might not be a bad idea to start off fresh with the next witness, rather than just to try and rush through to 3 o'clock if we're going to come back for this.
Could I add an administrative item, which is that this Zoom meeting will only run until 3 o'clock today in any event. So if it were to go past 3, we would run into problems. So my advice would be that the meeting end no later than 2:55 today, no matter how you decide to go forward.
I'm in it to win it.
And Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
I understand that the commission wants to hear from the additional witness if available, and the prosecution withdraws any objection to hearing from an unnamed witness.
Thank you, Mr. Reza. I appreciate that. Okay. So why don't we proceed with your questioning, Mr. Kirby, of Ms. Corrigan?
Thank you.
We can't hear you, though.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Gail, I would.
I cannot hear you now.
Yeah, hang on, one moment. It may be that the microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Gail, with reference to your appointment as the acting manager for the town of East Greenwich. Could you explain to the
Mr.
Conversation.
Kirby, you have to
Yep.
look directly into the computer and speak, otherwise it fades in and out.
Am I heard now?
Yes, thank you.
Where is the man? I think I'm sorry. I don't know where the microphone is. I'm trying to make sure I'm speaking into it.
It's perfect right now.
Okay, great. So if you could explain to the commission your appointment as the acting town manager for the town of East Greenwich, your discussions with Sue Cianchi in the spring of 2017, very briefly, in your own words.
Pretty much as Sue Cianchi has testified, she pretty much wanted me to be acting town manager, and there was an abrupt departure of the former town manager by the council, and she just said she wanted me to be town manager, and actually. The first person it wasn't Sue Cianchi, the first person to approach me about it was Sean Todd, Councilman Sean Todd approached me about it, then Sue Cianchi, Councilman Deutsch, and finally Councilman Granatario.
That was after you had acted as the outside consultant for the town of East Greenwich, correct?
That's correct.
And you disclosed to the town of East Greenwich that you were working for the Central Coventry Fire District as an outside consultant.
Yes, I knew that.
In reference to your financial disclosure statement that Ms. DeRezzo just asked you about, you had never hidden that from the town of East Greenwich or outside consultant to the Central Coventry Fire District.
Again, it was well known that I worked for Central Coventry Fire District.
We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
It was well known that I worked for the Central Coventry Fire District. At that time, I had been in that position for over a year. And we were, the Central Coventry Fire District had been in bankruptcy and in receivership, and the state had pulled out of that bankruptcy and receivership and left the district. I came in, I believe, in March of 2016, and I was heavily involved with pretty much doing an informal bankruptcy after the bankruptcy. And I am still in that position to this day.
Your billing and invoices were all public knowledge with regard to the Central Coventry Fire District, public information?
Yes, we had a number of, they were actually in the budget and budgeted every year. That's one way of the public knowing. There were requests, and every year, like, there were public requests for documents. The documents were available. The documents eventually were put onto the website. And the other thing was that there were every year there were public in the meetings. You can go back through the notes of the meetings on the Secretary of State's website. There were discussions between the councilors in the Central Coventry Fire District about the contract and the engagement. What was more was needed, what less was needed. It changed over time. And then also, again, in the fiscal district meeting, there would be different line items on the budget where this amount was budgeted and approved by the taxpayers as a whole.
Reference to Linda Dykeman, that was disclosed that she was a consultant with you at CCFD as well, correct?
Yes, that was correct.
And with reference
Mr. Kirby, we can't hear you.
with reference to your presentation to the town of East Greenwich, I apologize for making reference to the town of North Smithfield. I spent many years handling matters before the town of North Smithfield. It seems to be a habit to say. With reference to the town of East Greenwich, you made a presentation with Linda Dykeman on behalf of Providence Analytics, and you indicated that you were also outside consultants to Central Coventry Fire District, correct?
That's correct.
At some point, Linda Dykeman, as you're aware, she took the position as the business agent, finance director for the school department for the town of East Greenwich, correct?
That's correct.
And thereafter, would you please explain to the Ethics Commission the efforts that were made by various members of the town council regarding the putting forward the name of Linda Dykeman for the combined position between the town side and the school side?
I basically had no choice in what name I put forward. They told me and directed me to put forward Linda Dykeman's name.
But at any time, did anyone mention to you there being an issue with regard to the Ethics Commission, or the ethics rules and regulations regarding this appointment of a business associate under the circumstances that were going forward at that time in the town of East Greenwich?
No,
Hear from the town attorneys or from the school committee or any members of the council that you were putting forward the name of the person that you were acting as a consultant with on the proposed merger of these positions?
no,
Time have negotiate for her salary or any of her benefits with regard to the term sheet that Linda Dykeman ultimately signed that's been introduced into evidence?
no, I did not.
Who prepared that document, if you recall?
It would have been prepared.
We can't hear you. Could you please repeat?
Would have been prepared by the town's attorneys.
Is it fair to say that your supervision of the combined position of finance director for the town and for the school side, the town of East Greenwich, was merely a ministerial supervision and direction.
I would agree that it was ministerial, if that.
Due to the position as the acting town administrator, and you were appointed on June 26th of 2017 to be the acting town administrator. Is that what, manager? Is that what you recall?
Yes.
I'm sorry, some of the middle of that was really missing. I don't know that I can tie that together. You might have to repeat that question.
Okay. You were appointed approximately, I believe it was on June 26th, at that meeting of 2017 to be the acting town administrator.
Yes.
How much time went by after you were appointed as the acting town manager? Were you approached and instructed to nominate Linda Dykeman as the town finance person for that combined position?
It must have been immediate, as probably even, it could have occurred that very day. I'm not certain exactly.
I have nothing further on this issue. Thank you. Well, for the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Ms. DeRezzo, do you have any other questions?
I have one or two follow-up questions. Ms. Corrigan, I believe you just testified that you had no choice but to bring Linda Dykeman's name forward. Is that correct?
I was directed to bring Ms. Dykeman's name forward.
But isn't it true you had a choice? You could have brought someone else forward.
I guess theoretically, but I was directed to put Linda Dykeman's name forward.
And didn't Sue Cienki, the town council president at the time, tell you that you can bring anyone you want, but we want Linda?
I don't know exact words that were used at that time. It was a very long time ago, and I don't want to make any misrepresentations to the commission. The feeling at the time was I was told to it said that, and it wasn't just Council President Cienki, it was the town council. They wanted, it was very clear that they wanted Finance Director Dykeman in the role, and I was told I was directed to put her name forward.
Thank you, Ms. Corrigan.
Excuse my landline. Any members of the commission have any questions for Ms. Corrigan? Yes, Commissioner Bennett? You're muted, sir. Sorry. Commissioner Bennett, you're muted.
I apologize. Ms. Corrigan, prior to your appointment as acting town manager in June of 2017, you were compensated from the town of East Greenwich for consulting purposes, correct?
Yes.
Was your form of payment a W-2 or a 1099?
No, neither. It was to a corporation.
Okay.
Providence Analytics. I had to supply a W-9.
Okay. Could you just briefly describe to me your responsibilities, duties, and time that you were involved with Common Cause?
Oh, it was a while ago, prior to this. And I was on the board of directors and went to, I believe, monthly meetings for a period of time.
Were you ever given ethics training?
No.
Have you ever had to file a financial statement per any of the other list of many positions that you've held in various municipalities throughout the state?
No,
So you've never been given an application for that or ever told you needed to file?
that's correct.
That's it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Palumbo.
You didn't have to file for the fire district?
No, and to this date, I don't file for the fire district. And when I met with, when I met in the ethics office, I was very concerned with Attorney DeRezzo. I was very concerned about why don't I have to file now? And she explained that I don't need to file as district manager of the Central Coventry Fire District. I never had, and since subsequent to East Greenwich, I don't need to. I'm not really sure why not, but that was the ruling.
Are we allowed to ask questions of the attorneys, or is it only the witness?
I would confine the questions to the witnesses.
Well, let me ask you then, counsel. Do you know why the fire district, by law, is not those appointees aren't required by us to file financial disclosures?
Well, she was not, as I understand it from the evidence, she was not an employee of the fire district, but remained an employee of Providence Analytics, and for that reason, she wasn't subject to filing.
So, weren't you, Ms. Corrigan? You were appointed, right? You were an appointed official of the fire district, no?
My company was hired.
But I thought you were district man. I'm sorry, I don't know the title. Something man, district man.
I'm district manager. Yes.
But as a consultant.
As a consultant, okay, I see. All right, so it's not an appointed position of the, okay, got it, okay.
Sister Therese.
Yes, I have a question. Ms. Corrigan, while you were a consultant for East Greenwich and then later on appointed as acting city manager or town manager, given the changes you were proposing, did you give consideration to the kind of candidate that was going to be needed to fill this combined position? And did you have certain people that you knew could fill this position over and above Linda Dykeman?
So it's a very good question, because the position, when you combine it, has to have that school certification, that RIDE school certification, and also have, so if it was just a municipal, there were definitely people I knew who could be a municipal finance director. But once you overlay that school district requirements, which are I think, set off by law, and I myself am not familiar with them, and that was actually the reason why Linda Dykeman was brought in on the Providence Analytics, because she was familiar with the school side and the municipal side. And I myself, my previous experience and even my experience in Central Falls or Central Coventry, it's really just municipal. I've had very little experience on the school side. So I myself don't know too many people who in the state of Rhode Island or anywhere for that matter, who could have done the job, frankly.
But you didn't search for anyone.
I was pretty much told that the decision had been made. So they told me what to do and I did it.
Yes, because it is possible to get that certification when it's needed for a position, I would think.
Oh, I agree. There's a number.
I think you could get it. You are intelligent woman. Yes.
I'm really not really sure. I know you have to have there's certain courses and certain I guess if you wanted it, you'd have to you'd have to ask Ms. Dykeman about that, because I never actually looked into getting a ride certification. There's certain requirements. I'm not sure what they are, but I know that in general, as a governmental finance person, not everyone chooses to go through and get the certification. In fact, there are very few.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm curious again, and I think we touched on it a little bit, but aside from the hiring, where you've made very clear that you felt that you didn't have much of a choice, and that you were told to do this, given your experience with Common Cause and your own experience in Central Falls and elsewhere, did you have any reservations or concerns about overseeing, being the person to supervise a business associate?
It really didn't cross my mind or occur to me. We were just working like crazy. Everybody was, getting the job done. Again, and I have to say that all of the department directors at East Greenwich knew their jobs, did their jobs very well. And we just inherited a very kind of a difficult situation that, every day we worked on it to the best of our abilities. And frankly, it just never crossed my mind. If anyone had told me or said something, I would have been like, oh my gosh, stop the presses, let's go back. But that never happened. It was such a public, I was on TV, I was on, Facebook. It was just so incredibly public that everybody knew where we came and everything we were doing, that it just never really crossed my mind.
Any other questions for Ms. Corrigan? Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So am I correct? I think the representations were made previously that Mr. Kirby and Mr. Rezzo, this would conclude any questions you have for Ms. Corrigan, and Mr. Kirby, you won't be presenting her in your case in chief. Is that correct?
And any other information coming forward from the prosecution's witnesses that I would need to have Ms. Corrigan come back to clarify or rebuttal. I do not see the need to have Ms. to call her, although she's going to be here for all of the hearings and things. It's just, I don't anticipate that I would need to call Gail again unless something came up through some other witnesses that I needed to clarify or rebut.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
So, Mr. Rezzo, do you want to proceed with?
Yes, I have my last witness, and it will be a brief examination. I call to testify Michelle Berg.
Hello, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
State your full name for the record.
Michelle R. Berg.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Berg.
Hi.
Ms. Berg, how long have you been employed by the Rhode Island Ethics Commission?
A little over 24 years.
And what position do you currently hold?
I'm the financial disclosure officer.
And in that capacity, do you administer the financial disclosure program and its records?
Yes, I do.
And you maintain and update those records for the commission?
Yes, I do.
And Ms. Berg, do you recall mailing the 2016 financial disclosure statement to Ms. Corrigan?
Yes, I do.
And is that due to a review of the commission's database records, or do you have an independent recollection of those events?
I actually have an independent recollection of those events.
And why is that?
We had actually, shortly before that, received a complaint against Gail Corrigan, so I was aware of her having been appointed and knew that we had not yet received her information, so I went looking for it in the clerk's list that we had recently received.
And when you received that clerk's list, what did you do to forward the financial disclosure form to Ms. Corrigan?
I did what I would always do, which is enter her name into the database that generates a PIN and ID. I create an online filing letter, which is then inserted into a window envelope with a copy of an FS16 financial statement, instructions included, and a return address envelope.
So in that envelope that goes out to that went out to Ms. Corrigan, and you personally mailed that out?
I did.
And in that envelope that contained the blank financial disclosure form for 2016, is that correct?
That's correct.
The accompanying hard copy instructions?
Yes.
And did it also contain the online filing instructions?
Yes, it did.
And Ms. Berg, how likely is it that you would have failed to include the hard copy instructions along with that mailing?
The hard copy instructions for the financial disclosure statement are actually, they're collated together. So it's not very likely because the packet is noticeably thinner without the instruction sheet in it.
So if you had inadvertently grabbed a financial disclosure statement alone, would it have been readily apparent to you if that the instructions were in fact missing?
Yes.
And in that mailing, you also are certain that you sent out the online filing instructions as well?
100%.
Okay. And I would like permission to share a document that has not been entered in as an exhibit. I would mark it for identification as prosecutions P14. The respondent's counsel was provided with this document as part of the discovery package, so he has received this. It was just not presented as a stipulated exhibit. And I would submit that the document that I would like to show with the commission's permission is the online filing instructions for the financial disclosure statement.
Mr. Kirby, any objection?
I'd like to see, are you going to bring it up now?
I'll bring it up now. It's just marked for ID preliminarily. So, Ms. Berg, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
And what is this a copy of?
That is a copy of the letter that was mailed to Ms. Corrigan with her 2016 yearly financial statement.
And I believe you testified that one of these letters is mailed to each and every filer when the statements go out?
Yes.
And in the upper right-hand corner, is that your personal handwritten notation of the date you mailed it out?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are you absolutely certain that this would have gone out in the mail to Ms. Corrigan?
It had to. She wouldn't have received the mailing otherwise because her mailing address is actually printed on the financial disclosure instruction sheet.
So the name and address of Ms. Corrigan that appears here where my cursor is, if you can
Yes.
see that, is that the only place where Ms. Corrigan's name or address would have appeared in the entire materials that you forwarded on January 9th of 2018?
Yes, it is because we use a window envelope. So that goes into the window.
So Ms. Corrigan's name wasn't on the envelope outside? No address would have been outside?
No.
If this document was not included in the mailing that you sent out on January 9th of 2018, would it have reached Ms. Corrigan?
No.
And Ms. Berg, you did in fact receive Ms. Corrigan's 2016 statement that was filed, did you not?
Yes, we did.
All you want.
What was that?
And you did check
What was
with the database records to ascertain, was Ms. Corrigan's statement received within 30 days of your mailing?
Yes, I did.
I got it.
And how many days, if you recall, what did you receive it after you mailed it?
It was beyond 30 days. I believe it was 38 days.
Thank you, Ms. Berg.
You're welcome.
At this time, I would move to admit prosecutions P14 in full.
No, I'm not going to object. No objection.
Okay, great, thank
We
you.
want to examine on that document and would ask that it be kept up on the screen.
Certainly.
Mr. Rezzo, do you have additional questions for Ms. Berg?
I do not.
Okay, great.
So that document submitted as Exhibit P14.
And what I'm doing, Legal Counsel DeSimone, is right now I am emailing this document to our administrative staff member who has a mailing list and will distribute it to all the commissioners and Attorney Kirby and you as well.
Thank you.
Take one moment. Sorry, doing things on a Zoom is a little bit different. There are a few lag times. I've tried to get the tech up and practicing, but there are some things just take a moment.
May we proceed with Mr. Kirby's question?
Yeah, we have it here, Mr. Rezzo, on the screens.
Yeah,
I can leave it up on the screen if.
yeah, yes, please.
Okay.
So, Mr. Kirby, would you like to proceed with questioning?
Yes, just a couple of questions. Thank you. Ms. Berg, you handle the yearly annual financial statement. Please, can we leave that up?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'd like the document to stay as it is. Ms. Berg, you handle the yearly financial statements that go out to the various public officials required to file in the state of Rhode Island. That's correct?
Correct.
And you would actually use the term the instruction sheet and the yearly financial statement are collated together to go out as one package. Is that correct?
The paper instruction sheet for the financial disclosure statement, not this online filing instruction sheet, just to be clear.
And that was with the annual financial statement that you sent out to Ms. Corrigan included this document P14. Is that correct?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And it was part of the same packet that you sent out?
That is correct.
And when Ms. Corrigan, that you recollect, this was outside of the ordinary mass mailing that goes out every year, correct?
That is correct.
And this document P14 would have been put in with the yearly financial statement that had that had the instruction sheet with it. That's what your statement is today, your testimony, and you recall that?
That is correct.
And with regard to the annual statement that you sent Ms. to Ms. Corrigan, which is within the packet attached to the complaint. You have a copy of the annual that was filed?
Yes, I do.
Of what Ms. Corrigan returned to the
I can
commission?
access one quickly. Yes.
Could you pull it up? Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
The front page of that 2016 yearly financial statement in the upper right-hand corner, it has.
Can't hear you, Mr. Kirby.
I'm sorry. In the upper right-hand corner of that 2016 financial statement, it's 16 FS-1. Do you see that to the right?
Yes.
Now, this would be the first page of the financial statement that you sent to Ms. Corrigan. You recall that?
Yes,
And this does not have an indication on it that this was mailed on January 9 of 2018. Your handwritten note isn't on the annual statement, is it?
no, it is not.
And it's not on the instructions that you had attached with it as well, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Great, thank you. I think you can stop sharing your screen, Mr. Ezra. Great, thank you. Members of the commission, any questions for Ms. Berg? Anything further, Mr. Ezra, from Ms. Berg?
No, I'm finished with this witness. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Michelle. Okay, and did you want to bring Mr. Cross today?
Actually, I have no need to call Investigator Cross. In my case in chief, I have him listed should there be a need to rebut something in the respondent's case, but I'm not anticipating that.
Okay. So does this conclude the prosecutions?
Yes, the prosecution rests.
Mr. Kirby, how would you like to proceed? Did you want to bring Ms. Dykeman today, or did you want to continue?
Another day would be fine, and hopefully I'd have a better system so I don't have to yell into the computer against and things of that nature. And we stand at your discretion as to when you would like to meet.
Great. Okay, so then, do I need to make a motion to continue?
Well, yes, are we going to discuss what a possible continuation date will be, though, first?
Should we do that today? Or would we leave that to the attorneys?
Well, I guess we can leave that to the attorneys and the executive director. The hearing the commissioners will be present for this hearing are limited to the 5 that are here presently.
Right.
The commissioners who are here should not discuss with each other or anyone else anything that was received in evidence, really anything relative to this hearing. Okay, you should not discuss it. You are not to discuss it amongst each other until all of the evidence is closed and we go into deliberations. The only communications that you can have will be as to scheduling, because we're going to need to know when you're available. But other than that, there should be no discussion of the case by anyone. Jason, do you have a suggestion for a new date while we're all here?
Well, my suggestion would be that we reconvene as soon as possible in order to keep the evidence fresh in everyone's mind. And so my suggestion would be that we look for dates either later this week or next week, if commissioners and attorneys are available. We certainly, our staff could circulate some questions concerning commissioner availability.
Yeah. Why don't the attorneys talk to each other about dates and get us some options, and we can proceed from there. I don't think we're going to solve it here, especially if there are other people that are being invited to be part of the testimony.
We're probably looking at next week because it would be an open meeting and we would have to comply with the state's Open Meetings Act with advanced posting. So I will circulate some questions regarding availability for next week if that is acceptable to the commission and attorneys.
Thank you.
That's great.
And then that maybe Mr. Kirby and Ms. Corrigan have separate computers next time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that will be important. And I actually would ask the Ethics Commission staff to work with them to, make sure that they have an optimal condition.
actually thought us being together would have avoided that. That was my suggestion. I apologize.
That's okay. It's all an exploration that we're going through, so I totally understand.
Brave new world.
It is. It is. And maybe under other circumstances, if you had a larger screen or something, better sound, it could work. So I understand the sentiment. All right. Do I have a motion to continue this until a date that is determined by council and the Ethics Commission?
Well, I think we should have a motion to recess and then to continue. That's what we're doing, right?
Can we do it all in one motion or no?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. So do I have a motion to recess and continue at a later date that is determined by the commission with consultation with attorneys?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Roll call vote. Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Anton,
Aye.
Commissioner Palumbo,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That's great. And there's one final matter, but thank you very much, Ms. Corrigan and Mr. Kirby. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you soon. The final item today is any new business proposed for the future commission agendas. No? Great. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah. Jason, will we hear from you pretty quickly? Because
Yes, today.
I'm going to be traveling next week, so I have limited time.
I will send out some information today, looking for availability
Okay.
by the end of today.
Great.
And I will also contact you, Nancy, our stenographer, to make sure that you are available.
She's the
Yeah,
most
thank you.
important person.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Nancy.
Because my inquiry was just going to be regarding a transcript. You're waiting to the end to decide if you want a transcript, or is this something I should be working on, or?
We definitely will want a transcript, 100%. It doesn't have to be available for the next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Staff, let's not meet. So let's all catch our breath, and maybe we'll schedule a Zoom meeting for tomorrow. But I think everyone needs a little time to unwind. So if you're still on here, we'll have a staff meeting this week where we'll discuss this
Okay,
and other things. So thanks, everyone. It went very well, very well.
very good.
Good job, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay,
Later.
bye-bye.